So I recently finished playing the Lost Judgment campaign quicker than I ever thought I would. I plan on making an update to my Yakuza games tier list so that I can include both Yakuza 7 and Lost Judgment, but today I intend on talking about a subject I've brought up several times on my channel, which is the canonicity of Judgment to the Yakuza games. Me saying that I didn't think Judgment was canon was probably one of the most controversial things I've said, and ever since then I've gained more information that made me more considerate of the idea that these two games are connected, but I was still hesitant to accept the idea that they're undeniably canon because none of the reasons I was given completely refuted my main reason for why I didn't accept this premise in the first place. However, after finishing Lost Judgment story mode, I am now on the full opposite side. I am close to 100% convinced these games are canon. There are a few things to take away from the story, but one thing is made official. The Tojo clan is disbanded. This was made very clear at the very beginning. The game never attributes any reason for why it happened, but I think it's pretty reasonable to assume it was for the same reason the clan disbanded in Yakuza 7. Otherwise, it would just be dismissive to say it's just a coincidence. There are of course some counterpoints you could make. For one, I've noticed that they only talk about ex-Tojo members and never even bring up the Omi Alliance, despite the fact that at one point Omi did invade Kamurocho, and it would be reasonable to assume that there would be a few ex-Omi lying around in the city as well, especially because they were the most recent dominant Yakuza group. However, I think there's a pretty good explanation for this. The Tojo clan have been around in Kamurocho for literal decades, while the Omi Alliance, we don't even know if they've been there for more than a year. So I think it's a lot more likely to find residues of the Tojo clan than it is to find traces of the Omi Alliance. Additionally, the Omi Alliance definitely do exist in Lost Judgment because Yagami mentioned it during a conversation with Amasawa, and he also confirmed it was disbanded, further proving that this game is connected to Yakuza 7 since by the end of that game, Watase shut down the group, which caused a riot in the headquarters. But where things start to get pretty juicy is once we get to Yokohama. One of the first things I decided to do the moment I stepped into the city was go to the Survive bar and confirm if the same bartender was there, and thank Christ they did not replace him. Now, in case you don't know or don't remember who this man is, this is Kashiwagi. He used to be the captain of the Kazuma family and then later became the chairman after Kazuma died. He's been around since the first game, and in Yakuza 3 he was killed and we were led to believe that he was dead, but then in Yakuza 7 we found out he's still alive and secretly running a bar, I guess. You can clearly see it's him based on the scars of his face, and they have the same voice. Now in the past, we've had characters from the Yakuza series show up in Judgment, but they were either background or sub-story characters, but this here is an official canonical person that is more than important to the main story of the Yakuza series. And the funny thing is, I didn't even need to go there in the first place, because there's a mission where we meet someone and not only did he invite us to the Survive bar, but he even pointed at the bartender when he was warning Yagami not to cause any commotion in the bar, meaning that his existence is canon to the Judgment series. However, there's more. So this game very explicitly confirmed that the Seiryu clan, the Komijul, and the Yokohama Luimang very much exist, even maintaining their established settings. Now, there was a point when the Yokohama 99 was invaded by a group of vandals wearing masks. At one point, it was discussed which of the three organizations could have been responsible for the attack. Komijul was discounted because it was believed that they wouldn't have gotten caught by the cameras, implying that the group does have some expertise in surveillance, which is very consistent with how they operate in Yakuza 7. But I haven't even got to the best part. Zhao, a leader of the Luimang and eventual party member of Ichiban's crew, made a small cameo in the game, and although he never talked, he was mentioned by name, so at this point, it's pretty hard to deny. Right now, the only thing standing in the way of these two series being together is the Kamurocho 3K plan. Even though we can infer that it did in fact take place in the Judgment series given how both Tojo and Omi have been disbanded, they still don't really clarify the inconsistent timeline. I've seen some people make the point that the 3K plan could have taken years for it to be fully enforced, meaning that during the events of the first Judgment game, they still hadn't yet completely eliminated the Tojo clan. Now, I've already explained this in a past video. This doesn't really make any sense because Adachi said that Aoki never really gained any support until 2 years ago. Bear in mind that the game takes place in 2019. And claimed that the destruction of the Tojo clan was the main thing that gave him a ton of support. And since he became governor in 2017, it makes no sense for the clan to not only still exist, but also be described as dominant in the city, despite Judgment taking place a year after Aoki became governor. It would be one thing if they existed but were struggling to stay alive, but that's clearly not what happened. They were just as influential as they've always been. At this point, I honestly don't even think they can or will fix this plot hole. It's a mistake they made that can't be fixed, and all they can really do is hope that no one will linger on it. In fact, given how I seem to be the only one who cares about this plot line, since in my initial video, no one talks about the Kamurocho 3K plan in my comment section, even though that's the main thing that made me claim that it wasn't canon. It just goes to show that maybe all they can do is just leave it as it is, especially when at the end of the day, these are two different series. As for me, all I can say is Lost Judgment fully swung me to the other side of the argument. It's one thing when they only share city design assets and inconsequential references during sub-stories and skill upgrades, but when we get to see direct references in the actual story, to me that's on a whole new level, enough for me to fully take back my initial claim that it wasn't canon. Nevertheless, if you want to see my journey to the 180 flip I made, you should watch my mini series of videos talking about this subject, especially because I do go into details about some of the arguments I and others have made. While you're at it, you should also watch my other Yakuza related videos. I'll create a playlist and link it in the end cards. And lastly, I hope you all have a nice day.